This is going to be a video about pulling together everything we have learned and writing your first paper. First of all, double check your topic and thesis before you even start. Do you have something controversial? Do you have something where you'll be able to make an argument paper? You don't want to just give an informative paper, you want an argument paper. Something about which reasonable people would disagree and you can take a side. As you work on gathering sources, make sure you evaluate them according to the parameters of the Scarab rubric. You shouldn't use any source in your paper that isn't a good source according to the Scarab rubric. Even what we define as a low-quality source should at least score above average on the Scarab rubric. Otherwise, it's just not even anything you should be using in your paper. Remember to use good source variety, including high-quality sources, low-quality sources. Include things like primary sources if you can. Include government sources. Remember, we define high quality as something written by experts and for experts. So you should have mostly high-quality sources. Make sure you always double-check for any paper how the instructor defines a high-quality source and make sure that you have enough. As you're reading your sources, keep in mind the composition basics like the thesis and the audience and the purpose and the evidence. Everything that we discussed about composition basics. Make sure you do a good thorough reading and analysis of each of your sources. And also check as you're reading for any logical fallacies. That might be something you can mention or use in your paper. It might impact your decisions. Make sure you do some critical thinking about the topic after you're done reading your sources. Go through all the steps of knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation, looking all the time for new ideas or new points that you can make or something that you can discover about the sources by doing critical thinking about the sources and the topic. Remember that you're looking always to get to new ideas. A college paper does not just repeat what other people have said. It offers up your own thoughts, solutions, and any other kind of idea that you might have about the topic. As you're planning the paper, please keep in mind the sorts of things we've discussed. For example, pick one specific argument format. Make sure that your subpoints are parallel. Make sure that you acknowledge and rebut the opposite view. And remember, the acknowledgement is where you say, here's the point that the opposite view people might have. And when you rebut, you say, but here's why I don't think that's a valid argument or why I'm not sure it's as important as my argument. So be polite, but make sure you rebut. Also keep in mind the methods of development. You can use those for any sections or paragraphs or sentences. It's very handy to consider them in terms of developing paragraphs especially. Late in the process, you may realize that you have to go back to the library, that you don't have enough evidence for one of your subpoints, that you don't have enough evidence to discuss the opposite view, that you don't have enough evidence for whatever the paper requirements are. It's not cheating to go back to the library after you've started. It's encouraged, in fact. As you're writing, keep in mind the elements of good writing, which we discussed, and also keep in mind that little details matter. For example, you might want to use some rhetorical devices. You're definitely going to make sure that you're not using any logical fallacies. You should keep in mind the composition basics of your composition, like voice and tone and audience and purpose. And when you're inserting source information, you want to make sure that those flow smoothly into the paper, but don't dominate the paper. Your ideas should be the bulk of the paper, but the source insertions you need to explain so that the whole paper flows. And always get feedback from a couple of people who can give you some good comments. The more people, the better. Keep talking about the paper as you go. That will keep you on track. All right, and remember to keep asking questions of your classmates and your instructor and the librarians. Thank you.